Hey guys, how are you? I'm back. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I think we're good. Okay, I was about to say, are we live? Did I hit the? I know I hit the live. Okay, here we go. Hey everybody, what's going on? Okay, so you guys just watched the Wade Wilson video on phone calls from prison. Him and his girlfriend are certified nuts. She said something about being drunk, and I totally believe it. I totally believe that Mila was drunk. Um, I don't know what kind of drugs they do. We know that he's talked about cocaine. He's talked about meth. They could be doing a lot of different things. Um, I hope we just talking about the case and not actually hearing the call. I don't know. Well, no, we're not listening to the call. We're definitely not listening to the call. But I do want to. We're gonna show some videos, but we're not gonna listen to that call. It's okay. So let's get into it. So I don't know if you guys seen the dash cam video of when he got busted and then he took off from the police officer? Have you guys seen that? Let's just start from where I would like to. This is kind of a little bit of the beginning, okay? Not everything, and I'm sure we'll leave some stuff out. So if you are a Wade Wilson aficionado, expert, all of that, I'm not. So we're just getting into it, and we're just watching. Okay, we're just watching and checking thing and figuring out what's going on here. But check this out. We're kind of in the middle of this video, and this is the most important part that I wanted to show you guys. So let's get here, and this will give you a good idea of what happened on the day that when they talk about the day that he was outside of Mila's spa, in between, um, and I think this is in between the Kristen and Diane Ruiz, but this could actually be after Diane. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh, am I going to be stalling again? All right, give me just a second. So this is in court. So the officer, this is the first officer that is like, "Oh, I think I spotted him." And he's parked, like I said, he's parked right outside of the spa.
Oh man, you're waiting on your girlfriend?
He's in the Nissan Versa.
That's no problem. No, I got a call. Somebody was sitting in their car and everything like that. So. Oh, okay. She's on her way now. Mhm. Okay. Okay. L 41 to bike 5. ETA? Copy up 1012. Hmm? I'll explain to you when my partner gets here, okay? Yeah.
Isn't it crazy that Fort Myers is so pretty? It doesn't even look real. Like the scene behind him does not even look real. At first I was like, what is this? And then I'm like, wow, it's just so beautiful. All the palm trees and everything. And this guy is in Christine Melton's car. That is the Nissan Versa that he stole from her. Because remember, he was in a Hellcat. He took Mila's Hellcat, but he really doesn't know how to drive stick. So that's a whole nother part of the story. But after he finished with Christine Melton, he took her car, he took her phone. And this is Christine's car that he's sitting in shirtless across the street from the spa. Doesn't it? It looks like something out of a video game. It does. Doesn't even look real. It's so beautiful.
Hmm? How about this morning? Hmm? Hmm? Say again? Yeah, I can do that. But I'm just waiting for my partner to get here. Yeah, absolutely. And here's what's going to happen. detain you until I figure out what exactly is going on. Wait, you don't want any trouble for me? Okay? Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm going to have you step out of the car, and I'm going to detain you. Not arrest. Detain you right now. Okay? And I can't have any problems. You understand me? All right. What's that? Like, I'm at Joe's Crab Shack in the parking lot. I will. I give you my word. No. I have to detain you. By our procedures, I have to detain you. Because of the battery this morning. There wasn't any battery? I will. No. Just relax. Let me see the keys to the car. Let me see the keys to the car. Keys. Keys. Wait, we're not going to have any problems. Just give me the keys to the car. Wait. Just wait till my partner gets here.
Can you believe he's rolling up the window on the officer?
No, 4-1. Gonna need a couple more minutes. Don't go anywhere. Hey.
Look at Wade does not disappoint. Okay. He is a nut job. I mean, this officer's lucky that he didn't have any weapons because this is the type of guy that would take out an officer, no problem. I mean, if you're going to just take off and drive off and you are being detained, but I mean, look, know also what happened. So based on what we know has happened at this moment and what they're at least detaining him for at this moment, also they're in the process of investigating the two homicides. He's in the vehicle of one of the women who have been who were attacked and taken out. And then he just drives off. He just drives off.
Don't do it. He's in his car. He's attempting to take off. Back up. Yes,
I guess maybe they're not allowed to high speed chase.
He's taking off, Fort Myers. Just ran a
It took him
stop
that
sign
long to take off.
going up towards McGregor.
Okay, that's that on that. He's crazy. Okay, let's go to the next hold on a second. Let me just check my queue because I queued up a bunch of stuff. So okay, so we just watched that. So some of you guys in the last call asked about Kelly. This might be the Kelly video, so let's watch this real quick.
Now to a story out of Southwest Florida with ties to Palm Beach County. A man in jail right now is considered a person of interest in 2 deaths. Wade Wilson is behind bars on other charges, including burglary and battery in Lee County. WPTV News Channel 5's Jillian Niles
Me too,
spoke
call
to
me
an
darling. I
ex-girlfriend in
do
Palm
think he
Beach
did.
County who says she had her own violent experiences with him. Jillian.
So you heard them just mention Kelly. Did they just say Kelly's name? Hold on.
An ex-girlfriend in Palm Beach County who says she had her
Yes,
own
Kelly.
violent experiences with him. Jillian.
And Wade Wilson has an extensive criminal history. Record shows since 2010, he's been arrested more than 20 times throughout the state of Florida with charges like burglary and trespassing, also fraud and assault. He's even spent time here in the Palm Beach County Jail.
He called me the day he got out of jail recently.
Kelly Matthews last spoke to Wade Wilson in August of this year after he was arrested in July for sexual battery and abuse towards another girlfriend at the time. Those charges were later dropped after Wilson spent a month in jail. Earlier this week, investigators arrested the 25-year-old yet again in Southwest Florida, this time for burglary and battery. Matthews says she isn't surprised.
He was arrested for robbing me in December. He robbed me and took off with a friend of mine.
So this is Kelly, the one that Mila was talking about in the call we just listened to. He said, so he was talking to Mila, and Mila said that Kelly had reached out to her and was talking to her. This is the Kelly.
To Texas. So they went after him for that, and he got probation.
Then 2 months later, she says things got much worse. She claims he kidnapped her, took her to the Keys, and sexually assaulted her.
I thought he was going to kill me that night.
Matthews says she's been in contact with Wilson's dad since learning that he could have a connection to 2 homicides in Cape Coral. Friday, Cape Coral police named him a person of interest in the disappearance and death of Diane Ruiz and Christine Melton. Now, police say a critical piece of evidence that's linking Wilson to these 2 recent homicides is a car that surveillance video has picked up of him driving. That's a black Nissan Versa with unknown Florida tags. Live right now in West Palm Beach, Jillian Idle, WPTV News Channel 5.
6. The man accused of murdering 2 women in Cape Coral just tried to escape from jail, but Wade Wilson didn't get too far.
Okay, so you have to check this out. So while he's been in jail, he got with one of his cellmates, and they had the brilliant idea that they were going to try to escape. So this was this video. You guys are going to die laughing.
Thanks for watching NBC2. I'm Peter Bush.
And I'm Kelly Burns. Wilson is accused of 2 brutal murders in Cape Coral almost a year ago to the day. Police say Wilson went on a drug-fueled killing spree, murdering 2 women in 48 hours. Christine Melton on the left and Diane Ruiz closest to me. Tonight, Wilson, along with his cellmate Joseph Katz, are even more trouble. Reports say they tried to smash through a window and break out of jail. NBC2's Ashley Dyer is live at the jail right now on Ortez Avenue, showing us how deputies caught the pair.
Wade Wilson is accused of viciously murdering Ruiz and Melton last October. Less than a year later, he faces new charges. Deputies say last night, Wilson tried to break out of the jail through a window. Last night, Wade Wilson, who faces 2 first-degree murder charges, and his cellmate, Joseph Katz, tried to pull a get-out-of-jail-free card.
The window in particular in question, they started to remove some of the weather stripping. Okay, and they started to work on that window with a couple of bolts.
You can see the damage in the bottom right corner.
This just proves that he's not a good person.
Lee County Sheriff Carmine Marcino says the men plan to use a window as their escape route. The sheriff calling it a failed attempt from the start.
There was no way to get through that window physically, even if it was open. Okay. Furthermore, we have a series of layers after that they would have to penetrate to get out, and that's not happening.
The attempt to flee his prison cell comes almost 1 year exactly after Melton and Ruiz were found dead. Diane's boyfriend can vividly remember.
October 7th was the day he killed her and she became missing. So I'm not looking forward to that day.
Ruiz was found dead in a field in northwest Cape Coral. Melton found dead inside of her home.
She was a funny girl, you know. She was always happy. She was just super nice. Yeah, she was a good girl.
Debbie McCabe lived right next to Christine.
Christine was a really, really quiet person. And I could hear beer bottles hitting the garbage.
And was home the night she was murdered.
I didn't see him. I heard him.
After Christine was killed, Debbie installed an alarm system.
I just can't imagine him being out again. He scared me.
As family and friends continue to grieve the loss of Melton and Ruiz, they're relieved to know Wade Wilson will be sleeping right where he woke up, behind bars.
He should be locked away for the rest of his life.
In addition to the 2 first-degree murder charges that Wilson faces, he and Katz now also face attempt to escape a prison and criminal mischief charges. I'm live in Lee County, Ashley Dyer, NBC2.
Wade Wilson has a pretty disturbing record. He was already a felon before the murders of Diane Ruiz and Christine Melton. Wilson had been arrested several times in Lee and Palm Beach counties. He's accused of raping another woman he was dating in Fort Myers. He was arrested for that, but once again bonded out. He's also accused of stealing from his girlfriend and pawning her stuff. After he bonded out that time, he kept skipping court dates. NBC2 spoke with Wilson's ex-girlfriend on the phone when he was arrested for the murders last year. Just listen to some of the horrible things she says he did.
Tied me up in the back of my own car and tied my mouth shut and my arms and legs and beat the crap out of me.
He has two sides to him. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He absolutely can be the sweetest guy that you've ever met in your whole life. But he's also a monster.
Count on NBC2 to stay on top of this story for you.
You think that was Mila, the last person they talked to? The person from behind? Yeah, she's used to him going to jail. Girl, who knows? Any of his women, his ladies. Okay. This is okay. Let me see what's next up. Okay. This one, if you guys have been following the story at all, when you hear this account, so this is a news reporter, and sis got the exclusive, he'd literally been in jail. Let me see. This was November 15th, 2019. And I think they apprehended him maybe October 9th. So this was this is like a month after he was apprehended. So sis is calling him, I think, on Global Telelink. So let's listen to this. If you've listened to, let's just say the confession to the dad and the confession to Mila, girl, wait till you hear this. I'm going to try not to interrupt too much, but I might break in. So let's listen to this.
An inmate at the Lee County Jail. To accept this call, press 0. To refuse this call, this telephone call may be monitored or recorded. If you are an attorney and hearing this message, please hang up and call the Correction Services Division at 239-258-3626. Thank you for using GTL. Hello.
Hey, is this Wade?
Hey, this is Wade. How's it going?
This is Rochelle with Fox 4. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing good.
Rochelle with Fox
I'm
4.
good. Wade, really quickly, I just wanted to confirm, are you okay that we're recording and going to broadcast this interview? Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you confirm, just to make sure it's you, can you just confirm your date of birth, day, month, and year?
Yes, my date of birth.
So this is on Fox 4. Fox 4 now, and this is Rochelle. I forgot what she said her last name was, but Rochelle, the reporter, who we see here at the very beginning, who is having this call with Wade. Okay. And she's going to interview him about WTF, what actually happened. I heard that you confessed to your dad and all of the things, and just here, he just lies so easy. I'm gonna try not to interrupt too much because if my computer's lagging for some reason. He thinks he's famous. I mean, not for anything good,
My date of birth is May 20th, 1994.
Okay. And you're currently in the Lee County Jail?
I am, yes, ma'am.
All right. Wade, I mean, I hate to get to the heavy stuff right off the bat, but this is a question a lot of people at home have been asking us. They want to know the answer to. So I just want to ask you right off the bat. People want to know, are you guilty of those murders? Did you commit those murders concerning Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz?
No, ma'am. I did not commit these murders, and I'm innocent. I did not. No, ma'am.
So take us through, can you take me through October 6th through the 8th? From the start of October 6th to the day of your arrest.
So let me
I mean, it's crazy how he says he gets on the phone with his dad, Mila, running his mouth.
kind of start to tell you, can I go ahead and just speak a little bit? Is that okay?
No, go for it. Tell me.
Okay, so, the night of October 6th, the 6th, on the 6th, October 6th, so we went to, me and Mila, we went to a bar called Buddha, right? And we went to the Buddha,
and we were there for a little while, maybe 2 or 3 hours we had been there. And to let everybody know, I did leave the Buddha with Kristen, okay? I left with Kristen, and we actually, it was me, it was Kristen, it was one of her friends, Kristen's friends, who I don't know the name of. I'm not sure what her name is.
Samantha.
And also another individual, which was a guy that was at the Buddha as well. He was
Jason.
there. He came with us, so we all left. Me and Mila have a 2016 Dodge Hellcat, and we all left.
And just so you know, so he's saying him and Mila have a Hellcat. It's Glenn's Hellcat. Glenn, the guy who she, I guess, I don't know who she eventually ended up marrying. Someone said in the chat on Phone Calls from Prison that Mila has moved on. She got married to some guy or whatever. Anyway, Glenn was the owner of the Hellcat, and I guess Mila would drive it.
In the Hellcat, and we went to and the guy that I'm telling you about, I don't know his name. I'm not sure who he was. I'm not sure what his name is. He was an individual that we all met at the Buddha, and but we went to his house first, and he lives off McGregor, and we went to his house, and we partied a little bit at his house, and me and Kristen were intimate, and Kristen's friend and the man that I'm speaking of, they were kind of.
So they weren't all strangers. Kristen and Stephanie were pretty much like middle school friends. She said that they'd known each other since they were 15. So Kristen was with a friend named Stephanie at the lounge. They were hanging out. If you watch, I'll bubble up Stephanie's testimony so you can hear. So anyone who's interested in this topic can hear, her version of, them going out and meeting who he said his name was either RJ or JR, maybe RJ or something like that. Turned out to be Wade Wilson, right? But those two girls were friends. Jason was someone I guess they all met that night, and then they met Wade, who called himself JR or RJ.
Like in the other room, talking amongst themselves with each other. While me and Kristen, like I said, we were intimate together. And
correct,
then,
Evelyn.
We were there at his house for a little while, like I said, and then we went to leave his house. So now it was just me, Kristen, and her friend, and we were going to leave his house, and we were going to leave, like I said, in the Hellcat, and it just so happened that the Hellcat was actually out of gas. We ran out of gas, so we pulled out of his driveway and we went down the road a little bit, but we didn't even make it off his road. We were still on his street. The Hellcat broke down. We pulled it over into the side of the grass, and then Kristen called for an Uber ride for all of us. And so she called for the Uber, and we went from there, from the Hellcat in the Uber to Kristen's house. Me, her, and her friend, Kristen's friend. And we got to the house, and we were all there just hanging out. And then Kristen's friend actually left the house. She said that she had work or whatnot the following day, and she had to go. So she eventually left. She called. I think her car was there, and she drove away in her vehicle. And again, me and Kristen were continuing to be intimate together. And this went on for, I don't know, me and her together maybe an hour.
If you guys were listening when he talked to Mila and she asked him what happened that night, what happened, what did you do, what about the girl, he told her that he left with her, but he never admitted to hooking up. And apparently, we all know that they hooked up in both places, at Jason's house and at Kristen's house, right?
And now it's maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, somewhere around then. And like I said, I mentioned to you earlier that my vehicle was out of gas. So now my vehicle is all the way in McGregor on a street, of the guys.
So I'm not sure what happened to Mila. Him and Mila got into an argument at the Buddha. What happened to Mila? I don't know. Did he just take off? Like, did he get lost in the crowd and then just take off with everybody and leave her at the lounge? I'm not sure. Or did she grab a car and go? Because of course they were drinking and sounds like they all get sauced, right? So I'm not really sure how she left the Buddha. I guess that would be in her testimony. We'd have to go back and watch her testimony. What happened to her after leaving the bar? Did she go home? How'd she get home? All those things. I'm sure they asked all of that. She got to live that night. Absolutely. They got into the argument. He took the Hellcat. He met Kristen, Stephanie, and Jason. They drove to Jason's house, went to Jason's house, left Jason's house, and went to Kristen's house. Stephanie was there. I guess Stephanie's car was there. Stephanie left around 6 a.m. She said she was there for about 15 minutes. She had to go to work. She left and then never saw her friend again. So very sad. Okay, any of you guys who've been listening, you will hear it's interesting how a month later, which of course now he's trying to create a defense for himself. When he was on the phone with his father and his girlfriend, I think maybe he still was on the high or the thrill of this whole thing just happening. He might have still been on some sort of like a euphoric. It's not explainable to us because we're not him, but when he was doing all that talking, I don't know what he was thinking. These are recorded lines. Even his dad said, I know this is a recorded line, but what were you thinking? And then a month later, he's over here saying, nah, that didn't happen that way. She was, you'll hear.
The house that we went to with the man. So I have to get my car, and anyways, so I asked Kristen if it's okay for me to bring her phone in her car because I wanted to get my car out of there because it's an expensive car. I'm not familiar with that road. I don't want my car there. I don't want it on the side of the road. I don't want it to get towed. So I was trying to figure something out with that. So she let me use her vehicle, and I told her that I would be back. I would come back, and that was okay with her. And so I left, and I wasn't exactly sure where.
So you see how he just he goes to Kristen's house. He hangs out with Kristen. And he said that he needed to go get his car. So you couldn't go back with her? So you left her there to go see about your car. But how can you drive two cars, one of which also you can't drive? So that doesn't make any sense. But if you need to go get the car and you want to retrieve the car and get it to a safe place, wouldn't you take another driver who can help you do that rather than take a car and you took her phone, right? So
off McGregor, my car was I didn't know the name of the road or anything like that. So I called Mila, and I was going to meet with Mila and have her help me because she's actually from Fort Myers. I'm not from here. Have her help me find the vehicle. And so I went to Mila's. We have a place called Mila Spa. It's right in front of Joe's Crab Shack down.
Notice how he's like, we have a place, like it's his business, and it's not his business. So he's saying, we have a Hellcat, we have a spa.
Town Fort Myers, and so I went there to meet her. I don't really want to get into specifics about anything that happened or did not happen, with me and Mila. Obviously I left. I got there, left Mila, and I left the area. So that's the beginning half of the story that I wanted to tell you. Did you get all of that?
I did. So I just want to confirm with you, the last time you saw Christine Melton, she was alive.
Correct, she was, yes, ma'am. And this was around, like I said, when I left her house, this was around either 5 or 6, one of the two. I'm not entirely sure, but it was early morning, definitely.
Okay. What happened next?
Sure. You said what?
So I know you said you didn't want to talk about it, but I just have to ask. Mila said that when you met up with her in Christine's car, that there was a physical altercation, that you beat her. Are you going to tell us any more about that? Can you confirm that? Are you going to a bit to that?
I don't want to talk about that at the moment. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. I can tell you this much. I didn't meet her. I can tell you that. So this is something. Let me go into a little further detail with that situation. I mean, like I said, I don't really wish to speak on that entirely right now. Maybe when you and I have a visit and we sit down in front of each other, that would be something that I could talk further with. But I do want to include, and whether or not you decide to use this is up to you.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5 months ago, Mila, she pressed charges against me, saying the same thing that I guess she's saying now. And just to let you know, actually 4 or 5 months ago, she went to the state attorney's office and she filed to dismiss the charges because they were untrue. And so she actually had it thrown out. So this is not, just to let you know, this is not the first time that she's decided that she's wanted to do something of this nature.
Okay.
It's not the first time.
So after you left you saw Mila, after you left, what happens next, Wade?
Okay, so after leaving Mila, I called Mila. I called Mila and asked her, what was going on, and she actually told me to put it simply, she told me more that she was unhappy with me. Because first of all, because of the previous night, she was unhappy with me for leaving with another woman. She didn't like that at all, and so I could kind of tell by her voice and the way that she was talking that it wasn't sounding good. And like I told you, what she had done to me 4 or 5 months ago, this is not uncommon. This is something that she tends to do. So it was not sounding good. So anyways, long story short, I don't know where my car is. It's somewhere off McGregor. I can't find it. I don't know where this guy's house is. I can't find his house. I can't find the car. Any of these things. So, but I'm still trying to. So now I'm kind of in a frenzy because of Mila, how she's talking, what she's sounding like she's gonna do. Everything is not sounding good with her. And so I don't wish to be around her. I don't want to be anywhere near her when she's acting this way. So just, I'm really just trying to find the car now at this point. Anyways, so and the other problem, there was another issue as well, Rochelle. The other issue was that Kristen, here's the problem. I'm not from here. I couldn't remember exactly where she lived. And this was like another big issue for me because I was trying to get back to her house, but not knowing where she lived wouldn't permit me to do so. So that wasn't working out very well for me either. And
So you took her car, you took her phone. How are you supposed to call her back? So his story is he left and Kristen was alive, right? Which we know is not true. He left. I would almost think this is just I don't even know if this is true or not. Either he did it and then just took the car, or maybe there was some sort of argument as to whether he was going to take the car, because they hooked up several times. They hooked up at Jason's house, from what they say, if you listen to Samantha's testimony, a couple of times. And also he was on something, so that probably helped too, right? Then he went to Kristen's house. They hooked up some more. The friend said she was only there for like 15 minutes. She got there, they were talking or whatever. She left, and these two got back to whatever they were doing. And then he picks up he left the house with the car. Hey, phone calls from prison. Thank you for coming through. This story is crazy. But yeah, he's saying he doesn't know his way around Fort Myers, but you take the car, you take the girl's phone. Your story is she's still alive, which is not true. And how did you expect to get back? You don't know where you're going. You don't know how to get back. Like, why would you even take a car? But the one thing you know how to do is get from where you don't know where you are, and you got to Joe's Crab Shack. If you don't know how to get to Kristen's house, you left her house and you managed to get to Joe's Crab Shack, right? And you managed to be able to sit outside of Mila Spa. That's okay. He just lies so freely.
The thing about it was I had her phone, and so there was no way which would not have mattered anyways because I didn't know her phone number.
Why did you have her phone? Like, wouldn't you have her phone so maybe you could call her on her house phone if she had a phone? Like, what was the point in taking her phone? Everything he talks about is, but I had to go meet Mila. I had to go find Mila. He's like obsessed with Mila.
So that wouldn't have mattered anyways. But listen, Rochelle, I don't know how much more in detail I can go, but I would like to do a visit and talk to you face to face.
Yeah,
so I want to give you the first half of the story. Obviously, there's another half to it,
right?
Which I don't mind giving you as well. I would like to.
Yeah, I guess just one question before we continue though is why did you have Christine's phone with you?
Hold on, Michelle, you're breaking up just a little bit. I can't hear you too well.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
Yeah, why did you have Christine's phone with you when you left to go find your car?
The reason that I had her phone was because, first of all, she said I could take it. That was the first thing. She didn't mind. I could take her car. I could take her phone.
He's lying because she was more than likely deceased at that moment. He did what he had to do, and he took her stuff and was ready to get back over to Mila's. He's trying to make up with Mila because this all started because of the argument with Mila at the Buddha, and he lost control of himself and went on a binge. Yeah, it's just the lies.
Call Mila because Mila.
It's like he says Mila's name 100 times.
It's the spa that we meet up at, and she was not there, obviously, and so I had to be able to call her to talk to her, ask her where she was. Can we meet up at the spa? And I don't have my own phone. I don't actually have a phone, so that was the reason.
He's like a certified bum. He's such a bum. Like, he has to understand that this story is stupid.
Behind that.
Gotcha. Did you know Christine before that night, or did you guys just meet at the Buddha?
No, we just met at the Buddha. That was the first time that we had met. I didn't know her previously before then.
Okay. So you have her phone, you have her car, you don't remember where she lives. What happens next? What do you do next?
What I do next was drive around and try to find her house. That's what I did. And it took a little while.
Why did you have Christine's phone with you when you left to go find your car?
The reason that I had her phone was because, first of all, she said I could take it. That was the first thing. She didn't mind. I could take her car. I could take her phone. Because I needed to call Mila because Mila wasn't. It's the spa that we meet up at, and she was not there, obviously. And so I had to be able to call her to talk to her, ask her where she was. Can we meet up at the spa? And I don't have my own phone. I don't actually have a phone. So that was the reason behind that.
Gotcha. Did you know Christine?
So any of you guys just coming in, we're actually listening to a phone call that a reporter by the name of Rochelle, I cannot think of her last name, on Fox 4 Now did with Wade November 15th, 2019. So this is like just a little over a month from the murders. And he's basically just freestyling on the phone. I think he's trying to make it make sense and try to make it like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know. I just borrowed her car and I took her phone and this and that. And it was nothing when actually, obviously, he was everywhere at every scene of the crime.
Before that night, or did you guys just meet at the Buddha?
No, we just met at the Buddha. That was the first time that we had met. I didn't know her previously before then.
Okay. So you have her phone, you have her car, you don't remember where she lives. What happens next? What do you do next?
What I do next was drive around and try to find her house. That's what I did. And it took a little while. Actually took a couple hours, I don't know. Just trying to find the road, trying to find her house. I know what her house looks like. I remember, but I can't find the road. And so yeah, so that's really all, Rochelle, that's all I want to tell you about for now, if that's okay.
So I just want to confirm something at the end there. Sure. So you were able to find her house. Did you just return the car and leave the phone inside and walk away? Like, how did that work out?
I was unable to find her house. I was not able to find it.
So what did you do with the car and her phone?
Well, I drove to, like I said, I'm not from here, so I'm unfamiliar with the territory. But I drove to a friend of mine's business, which I'm sure everyone knows about. I mean, you guys have been reporting it. Everyone's been talking about it, so it's nothing like new. I mean, you already know. You know, I went to his business and I sat there with the vehicle. And didn't really know like what else to do. First of all, because Mila is the only other girl. She's the only person that I have in Fort Myers. She's mad at me. She's upset. So that was not an option. So I used to work. I was employed by Mateo Graphics, and so I went over there because I knew how to actually get there.
Okay.
And that's where I believe the police, I guess, had found the vehicle.
So, based on the police reports we're getting, that you were found shirtless and covered in blood inside of that home. Is that true?
Sure. That is actually not true. No, it's not.
Everything's a lie.
Actually, when I was found inside of that home, I was completely dressed. I had a shirt on. I wasn't bloody. I wasn't anything. Here's the second half of the story that everybody's wanting to know. And obviously you're saying, did I have anything to do with these two murders? Are they tragic? Yes, they are. Did I have anything to do with them? No, it's not. And is it tragic that I'm sitting in jail and people honestly think that I'm a monster? Yes, it is. That's wrong. But so the second half of the story is I was driving around looking for Kristen's house. Okay. And so I'm driving around at this point in time around Cape Coral.
The crazy thing to me is he's driving around looking for Kristen's house and he doesn't know where he is because he's not from there, and but he knows how to get to the spa. He knows how to get to Joe's Crab Shack, and he knows how to get to Mateo Graphics. Can you tell me, if you don't know where you are, how do you know how to get to somewhere? Like, he makes it seem like he is lost. But you're not so lost that you can't find Mila. You're not so lost that you can't get to Mateo Graphics to beg for, help because you had just done something, right? You're not too lost for that, but you can't have one without the other. Like, you can be lost, but you can figure it out, right? But he absolutely can't find the Hellcat. He can't find so that's Jason's house, because the car, I think, was left somewhere on Jason's street in the vicinity of Jason's house. And then he allegedly is trying to get back to Kristen's, but why would he go back to Kristen when Kristen, that's the scene of the crime, right? So he's not going to do that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. She was already deceased.
And yes, I did run into Diane, and yes, I did meet her, and yes, I did see her, but I didn't have anything to do with her death. The only thing that had happened was I asked her for directions, trying to kind of like get a general view of where I was at, because now at this point I'm in Cape Coral looking for Kristen's house. Can't find her house. I know what it looks like. I vaguely know what the streets around it look like and the houses around it look like, but I don't know how to get there. But now I have another issue. Mila is not answering the phone. She's mad at me. She's upset. She doesn't want to answer the phone. So I'm kind of stuck a little bit in Cape Coral, and can't. I could find my way back, but it was a problem. I was having trouble with directions, to say the least. And Diane, I asked her for directions, and is there anything you want to ask me, or do you want me to keep going?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to just follow up on that. So describe that encounter. Was she just walking down the side of the street? What time was it? How did that work?
What time it was? It was early morning. I mean, I can't give you an exact time. I really can't.
Yeah.
7 or 8 maybe in the morning.
And this is Monday morning?
And yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
Of the 7th, correct?
Yes.
Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, Dem folks, I don't think he was looking. I think he's just adding filler to, I did this, I left. I tried to get a hold of Mila. Mila wouldn't come out, or I beat Mila down, whatever, left. She called the police, took off. He goes to find maybe he's looking for the car. Maybe he's looking for Christine's house. I don't know. That's maybe when he met Diane Ruiz, and that whole thing happened. And then after that, he's back to Joe's Crab Shack, and the video that I showed at the beginning with the police officer trying to stop him, because in that time he had gone to the spa, beat up Mila, left. She called the police. Maybe he meets up with Diane Ruiz. After that, he goes back. He wasn't trying to find anything. He was handling all that business that he was handling what he was on. And yeah, he was driving around. I don't know that he was really looking for anything. He couldn't drive the Hellcat, because you hear him in the third call that Phone Calls from Prison posted, the one yesterday. He can drive the Hellcat. He said he was out of gas. He said, and she said, well, no, you can't drive it. She can't even drive it. So it didn't matter if it was out of gas or not. He couldn't drive it. So I think all of that is just a lie. He was just joyriding around in her car, and he was still coming off of that meth or whatever he was taking.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, in the morning. Yes.
So you're driving, it's early in the morning, you don't know where you're going, then what happens next?
Okay, what happens next is I asked her for directions, and she was trying to help me figure out where I was. First of all, ask her how to get back to Fort Myers, and just where I'm at. She helped me out with the directions, and then she actually asked me for a ride. She was going to work, I believe, and she had asked me for a ride. So I gave her a ride, and it was a short. It wasn't even far.
So his dumb behind, which good, because he needed to be found and arrested and all the stuff, and now convicted. But he admits to meeting her. He admits to interacting with her. He admits to having her in Christina Melton's car. He's
ride. It was just a 5-minute drive, and I dropped her off, and I believe that it was at a bus stop, so I believe that she was getting on the bus, and that was it with her.
And do you remember what was around you? Do you kind of have an idea of like where you dropped her off, where that bus stop was?
Was that where?
Do you have an idea of where that bus stop was, where you dropped her off?
No. Like I said, I'm not familiar with the area. No, ma'am.
Okay. So you dropped her off, and again, the last time you saw Diane Ruiz, she was alive as well?
Yes, she was alive. Yes, correct. Yes, ma'am.
So after that happens, where do you go next? After you drop Diane off, what happens next?
Okay. What happens after that is then
think of some more lies.
What happens next is she gave me directions on how to get back to Fort Myers, and that was enough for me to. I couldn't find Kristen's house, so I kind of gave up on that. My second thought was that I would go and try to meet back up with Mila and figure out what to do next. First of all, we have to get our car. Second of all, I have to return this car to Kristen. And so these are the things that I have to do. So I go back to Fort Myers, and I think I believe that I went back to Mateo Graphics, and that's across the bridge in Fort Myers, like I said, where I used to be employed. And I parked the vehicle there. I went inside Mateo Graphics, called Mila, but did not go back to meet up with her again. And then, let's see, and then leaving the car there, I left the business and walked on foot, and that was it. The rest, there's really not much left to the story after that.
He never mentions I was sitting out at Joe's Crab Shack. The police officer came to detain me. I took off from the detainment and disappeared.
So I just
You
wanted
know,
to.
they said that they found me, and I guess I had blood on me.
Yes.
The first thing is, to be honest with you, this is not true. If there was any blood on me, it was from myself because I do personal training, and my hands, I had been doing push-ups on the ground on asphalt, which was not smart of me, but I did, and I had two quarter-sized scars, open wounds on my hand that had reopened.
Okay, so there's two vehicles at play. Okay. So the night of that he met Kristen and took Kristen from the Buddha bar with her friend Samantha and some random guy, Jason, who jumped in the car, who knew how to drive stick. They drive the Hellcat that belongs to, well, Mila's other boyfriend, Glenn, to Kristen's house, right? They leave Jason's house and the girls realize Wade can't drive. He can't drive a stick. So he's revving the Hellcat. And if you know those type of vehicles, I mean, it was probably revving really, really hard. He couldn't get it out of first gear. They ended up leaving the car because the girls realized he couldn't drive that car. So they called for an Uber. They got in an Uber and they went to Kristen's house. When Samantha got there, that's her friend since she was 15, she left Kristen at Ms. Melton with Wade because they were hooking up, and she took her car and she left and went about her business. She had to take her kid to school. Okay. So enter the second car. The reason why Christine was in Wade's car initially, the car Wade was driving, was because the girls knew they were going to be drinking and Ubered to the bar. So when they got to the house, she has a car. She had the Versa. That was the black car in the body cam video. If you just now coming in or you're late coming in, scroll back to the beginning because I showed the video of when the officer saw him in the car sitting outside of Mila's spa, outside of Joe's Crab Shack. Okay. So that's where the second car came, the Nissan Versa, and the Versa is not a stick. So that's how he was driving that. So hopefully that answers that question.
And they constantly are reopening. They're on the palm of my hand, and there was a little bit of blood on my pants, I believe, from that. And like I said, this is no wonder that the police, even with everything they have now, like my clothes and whatnot, my pants, the FDLE testing that they say that they're running, it's not a surprise that I haven't been charged with anything. I know this because the blood that's on my pants is from my hand. So if they're saying that there's any blood, it's from myself.
So Wade, I have to ask you, we spoke to Mila and she's claiming that when you confess, she's claiming that you confessed to her. And she says that when you confessed that you told her you were under the influence of drugs. Is there any truth to that at all?
No, there's not truth to that. And if I do, like what people do in their personal lives is what they decide to do. I don't think that it's fair for other people to get into other people's personal business. And if you drink alcohol, I'm not going to ask you if you do. That's your own business. You're a grown woman. You're a grown individual. Mila doesn't know me very well. Like, she doesn't know me enough to say these things.
I have two follow-ups for you. One, did you in fact confess to her? Because that's what she's telling us. Did you confess to these murders to Mila?
Is that what she's saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. No, I didn't confess that. And a confession. Also, let me just inform you. I'm innocent of these charges. If there is any charges that will be present, I haven't been charged with anything. And that's all that I can tell you about that.
So let me ask you this then. So it appears that you were the last person to see these two women alive, or one of the last people to see these two women alive. Does that scare you? You're saying you didn't do it, but does it concern you that you're one of the last people to see them alive and nobody knows what happened to them at this point?
Sure. No, I understand that. But that's not my fault. That's not my concern. That doesn't have anything to do with me. I can't give you any answer about that. Just because I'm the last person to see them, you know, obviously, like I said, I've told you my side of the story, and that's all there is to it.
So I just wanted to ask you, do you have any theories as to what may have happened to these two women?
Well, to be honest with you, man, since I've been in here, I talked to a lot of people. I have friends and family that still support me, and I've heard that a third woman was found in Cape Coral, and this was big on the news, and so it doesn't surprise me that it sounds as though somebody is going around doing these terrific things, and you know, like I said, since I've been incarcerated now in the Lee County Jail, a third woman's been found in Cape Coral.
We're still working on that. I don't know that I remember any other women being found, but I'll look into that.
I wonder if so it's like, oh, a third woman. I don't think that this is the first time this has happened. I just think that I'm not sure what to think about Wade. But I do have a feeling this is not the first time. Like it's just too crazy. It might be the first time he's really been caught, but he's had so much deviant behavior. It wouldn't surprise me if this was not the first time that this type of situation happened. Then he's talking about a third woman. I'm like, who are you talking about? But there's more. So let's keep going.
Well, that's what I've heard. So maybe I'm incorrect on this. I'm not entirely sure, but just what I've heard. It's hard for me to hear. It's hard for me to get clear news, being that actually in Lee County Jail I'm housed in segregation. I don't get to see the news or anything like that. I just get to hear things from family members and other people.
So just to confirm, you haven't confessed to Mila and you haven't confessed to anyone to these murders?
No, but are they saying that I did?
We're hearing that you may have confirmed to multiple people. That's why I was asking you.
Right. And I've heard the same thing. But it doesn't, just things that you hear, you can't believe.
Wade, they've got you on audio. Like you're on a Global Telling call. You're on a call. We heard it. Like he's such a liar. He really is a liar. Forget about whatever other, and he is trying to use some sort of that he's got some sort of brain damage or he's got some sort of issue. It doesn't matter. You can still whether you've got brain damage or not, like, you know, sir, I don't think that it's going to make a difference as to whether he's going to get the death penalty or not. I mean, it's supposed to make a difference, but I don't think they're going to find what he thinks they are.
You know, that doesn't mean that they're true. So,
something else that people were talking about at your latest court appearance, people were talking about your shaved head and that you had what looks like a swastika on your head. Do you want to talk about that? Because people are making judgments based on that as well.
The question that you asked me, I don't wish to speak on that.
Okay.
I don't think it's not relevant to the situation in any way, shape, or form. I don't think it's something that needs to be brought up.
Okay, that's fair. I just wanted to ask. Viewers at home were asking, so I wanted to ask you for your side. So really quickly, Wade, I want to jump back in. I know that you said you met Christine just that night at the Buddha Room, and obviously you guys spent the night together and a part of the morning together. Was there any conversation? Did she tell you that, you know, her plans for that day, the next day? Was she going to go anywhere, meet anybody? We're just trying to understand, you know, what happened to her.
Did she tell me any of her plans?
Yeah, we're trying to find out what happened to her. So anything you can tell us will help.
Well, here's what I was concerned about, and here's something that the police have not even. I'm not sure they've investigated into it or not. She didn't tell me what she was gonna do the next day. Like, she didn't tell me her plans. Honestly, like, okay, here we go. She didn't tell me, you know what I mean, what she was gonna do. But here's what I tried to convey to the police, and I don't know if they've looked into it. They didn't even. Remember when I told you that we left the Buddha with her friend and another man, you know? And I don't know his name, the guy that lived on McGregor off of
Jason. He's going to try to implicate Jason. Catch this.
McGregor. And so what I told the police, because they did ask me, they said, the night that we left his house and went and got an Uber ride to her house, he was going to take us in my car, and he was going to drive us to Kristen's house. So Kristen told him her address, and he knew where she lived. Now, the other thing about it is, the reason that we left his house was actually because he was kind of like weird. He was really strange. Like the longer we stayed there, me, Kristen, and Kristen's friend, none of us wanted to be there. We were all kind of like, this guy's weird. He's real strange.
He lives with his mother. He lives with his mother, and his mother didn't like having 3 drunk adults on cocaine and whatever else they were on. He said, Wade saying meth. Samantha said they were doing cocaine. Okay, that's that. And the lady was probably any grown woman with grown ass kids, and he's bringing his grown ass drunk high friends over. That would be a problem. It would be a problem, especially when 2 of them start having sex in my house. How about that? That's weird. So y'all got to go. Yes. So let's hear what else he has to say about Jason.
And she's a little off. And so none of us wanted to be at his house anymore, which is the reason we wanted to leave. Now, you know, the problem was with leaving in my car, you know, me and Mila have this car, the Hellcat, and I can't drive a stick shift. Usually I let Mila drive. She drives and I sit in the passenger seat. And so this guy, the way that we got to his house was because he drove. He could drive a stick shift. So there was another problem of leaving his house was I'm about to run out of gas. I can't drive a stick shift. And so we told him her address, and he was going to drive us to her house. But for whatever reason, when we were about to leave, he decided that he didn't want to come anymore, and he didn't. And so this is another individual that
outside of the bad decision of catching a ride with these people, that's probably the best decision that Jason ever made, because Jason could have been at that girl's house and been sitting in the county also on God knows what. You just never know. The best thing he did was stay his ass to his mama's house at that point, because he could have been out on the lam with this guy inadvertently, or also been killed. Who knows? So anybody who has dealt with this guy in that 48-hour span is lucky to be alive, because he's insane.
Tried when the police investigated me, and I told them about him. I don't know his name. I don't know who he is. I know vaguely where he lives. Maybe I could find it. And I've told them that. And whether or not they've looked into this further, I'm not sure.
And that gentleman was Christine's friend, correct?
Yes. No. He was somebody that we had met that night at the Buddha.
Gotcha.
So I don't think that he was Kristen's friend. But if he was, I'm not really sure, because when I met all of them, they were already conveying, together. They were already together. So he may or may not be her friend. I don't want to tell you something that I don't know. But as far as I could tell,
basically the girls knew each other. Kristen and her friend, they knew each other from high school. The guys did not know each other, and the girls didn't know the guys. So everyone had just met. With the girls had just met these 2 guys, and the guys did not know each other. So Jason was not his friend. Jason was just another acquaintance. I don't know how this works. That all these people are, I guess everyone's out in Ubers. Nobody has a vehicle. The one person who has a vehicle really doesn't have a vehicle and needs someone to drive the vehicle. It was total strangers. The girls knew each other from school, but the guys, they didn't know the guys, and the guys didn't know them, and the guys didn't know each other.
no.
But did you see how he was kind of low-key trying to implicate Jason? Jason said he had to get up for work and he wanted them to leave. And Samantha had to go to work too. That's why she went home. Kristen was off, and she was, she was unencumbered for the next day. Pretty much, I wouldn't say all total strangers, because the girls knew each other, but in theory to each other, yes, this was a group of strangers. Isn't that strange? Jason is lucky to have gotten out of that thing. I felt so bad for Samantha because I don't think she, had she known, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like had she known, she said she would have never left her like that. Um, I, you know, I I feel bad for her because I know she probably has a lot of guilt. Um, but she had to do what she had to do. She had to get home to her kid because had she stayed behind for whatever, I mean, you just never know how that could have turned out for her. So it's a good thing that she did. She had to go and get home.
He was just somebody that they met that night.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as Diane is concerned, I know you guys spoke about directions, and she gave you directions back to Fort Myers. When you gave her a ride, did she talk about anything else with you?
No, she didn't really talk about much. She just talked about work, and I don't even remember like what she said she did for work. Like I can't remember that. But she talked vaguely about like going to work, and that was it. The ride that we had together was short, like 4 or 5 minutes, maybe at most, and that was it. So we didn't really talk a whole lot. It was real short ride, and dropped her off. And I thought that she wanted me to drive her all the way to work. That's the assumption that I was under. And but then she said she just wanted to be dropped off at the bus. So that was what I did.
And at this point, you told me you don't have a lawyer or you have a public defender, but you're seeking outside counsel. Is that correct?
Yes, I am seeking outside counsel. I have had people outside of the public defender's office contact me, and there is certain people that are considering taking my case on.
So obviously, Wade, this interview was to get your side of things. Is there anything else that people at home should know from your point of view?
Yes, from my point of view, I would say to the people at home, do not listen to what necessarily the media says all the time. Not to convey to you guys, not to say anything about you guys, but don't always listen to what the media says. Don't always listen to false reports. A man is guilty until proved innocent, and he is not guilty until proved innocent. And the thing about it is that I don't.
What did you say? He's guilty until proven innocent and not guilty until proven what? How did he say that?
I'm just a man sitting in jail, and I'm being slandered. I'm being talked down to. I'm being put on a very bad place. I'm being put in a very bad place, and it's not fair to me. I have a family. I have 2 children, and I'm a God-fearing man, and I just wanted to get my story out there and to clarify everything that's going on. And I just hope that people, take all this into consideration and look at me in a different light, and that people, hopefully they just can support me and be here for me. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Okay, so that's the sis that actually did the interview right there.
Right. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right, which one is this? Okay, this is another interview he did. This guy does not shut up. So the last interview we just watched, keep in mind that was November 2019, okay? I'll make a playlist of these videos I'm showing you. I think I already did make a playlist. I'll save it in the sequence. I'll have it down if you guys want to watch these uninterrupted, okay? These are just some ones that when he basically kind of said yes, but he was kind of affirming the comment, but he kind of admitted, we already know everything. And so what the brain damage thing, thank you, Evelyn. You mentioned something about the prosecutor poking holes at that, but they're going to revisit it for the sentencing, for his sentencing phase. They are going to try to revisit that, or they've asked for that to be revisited, I guess, to make sure that he qualifies for death penalty, since that was the recommendation. So they're going to revisit that again.
This man, Wade Wilson, is accused of brutally murdering 2 Cape Coral women, Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. He's been in jail since 2019, awaiting trial.
And this is, when is this? This is a year ago. So this was April 28th, 2023. Okay.
And recently, he sent us dozens of letters with some wild accusations. Tonight, for the first time
likes to
ever,
write
and from
letters.
jail, he's talking, and it's with NBC2
I wonder
anchor
if he writes
Kyla
his
Gaylor.
judge. I'm going to look him up.
These are all the letters Wade
at all these
Wilson has
letters he
written to
sends.
NBC2 over the last 6 months. He really wanted to talk with us.
Sarah Boone.
I know what you're thinking. Why would we listen to a man accused of some pretty heinous crimes? A man with a long rap sheet at that. Well, we found out he may be involved in even more than we once realized. Wade.
Okay, let me tell you guys about this. So I told you when we did the last live, I was telling you about a situation where he got entangled into a murder for hire plot since he's been incarcerated, right? So this is it. So listen to this situation. Since he's been in jail, he has been in a he tried to, what do they call it? He tried to leave the prison. He tried to escape from jail. And that was a plot that was foiled. Now, this whole thing. So check this out. This is very interesting.
Wade Wilson had a lot to say in his first and only on-camera interview since he was indicted on murder charges more than 3 years ago. And I had a lot of questions. Did you kill Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No surprise there, considering he pleaded not guilty. He seemed confident, even smug at times while sporting his orange jumpsuit and new face tattoos.
I'm not a monster. Yeah, I'm not a saint either by any means. I've made bad decisions in the past, of course.
While Wilson is accused of taking 2 lives, he claims to have tipped off investigators about a plot to kill another woman while behind bars. According to an arrest report late last year, Tristan Gendron asked Wilson to help kill the mother of his child, so his domestic abuse charges would be dropped. Wilson couldn't do it himself. He was in jail. But Gendron asked if his crew on the outside could.
He just thought that I was the person to ask for that.
This is a copy of the note Gendron wrote Wilson in jail with details of the hit job. It came with a $200,000 payout. Gendron said the money was in a safe at Gendron's funeral and cremation services.
Did you see the first line of the note? Basically, go to the funeral parlor and break in his father's safe. Okay. And he wanted Wade to get with some of his friends or his crew or whomever on the outside who could take out the man's baby mom to get his case dropped, because I guess obviously if she's gone, then you know, all of the other legalities will go away with them, which obviously, and now he's got more. But this is what Wade thought, that he was going to bubble this up to get some brownie points from the authorities, but I don't know that it helped him at all. But this is what company he's keeping in the jail.
This is in Fort Myers.
People would accept $10,000, $200,000, surely, but I'm not that type of person.
Instead, he reported it to the state attorney's office and became a sworn witness.
I don't know her personally whatsoever from a can of paint, but it doesn't matter. She's a person.
Investigators later found out there was a safe at the funeral home with cash inside, and those security codes in the note were accurate. The funeral director said the murder for hire charges are BS. As you might imagine, anyone tied to Wilson isn't keen on talking. The state attorney's office can't. We don't know all the evidence it has, but it's enough for prosecutors to go for the death penalty.
It doesn't worry me. It worries me only because of the level of corruption around here in Fort Myers that I was involved with.
We learned some of that evidence may include a confession, which Wilson says he was forced to make after he was charged.
When coming to jail, I knew that I had to get something out there as far as a confession because I was told to do that. Otherwise, my parents were going to be harmed. My children were going to be harmed.
Wilson's own father spoke on the record. He told investigators Wilson called him after spending the night with Christine Melton, asking for help. She was a server at a Cape Coral bar. Wilson's father said his son admitted to strangling Melton while she was sleeping and then rolled her up in a carpet. Wilson admits he met Melton at a bar the night before she was found dead and slept at her house, but claims she was alive when he left in her car. He told his dad he then picked up a lady, asked for directions, then choked her and ran her over so many times he made her look like spaghetti.
I was forced. That wasn't a call that I willingly wanted to make.
Investigators say that other woman was mother of two, Diane Ruiz.
But as far as Diane Ruiz, I never ran across her, never seen her, and there's nothing that will say otherwise than that.
Wilson only briefly.
How is he saying? So he went from confessing to his dad and his girlfriend to going on Fox a month afterwards saying that he did get directions from Diane, to now this interview, April 28th of 2023, talking about, yeah, he never even met her. So it's like, sir, you lie so much. You lie.
Mentions Ruiz and Melton in his letters, never giving these women the dignity of saying their names, just that he was set up. He talks more often about a high-profile case of another Cape Coral woman, Lauren DeMolo, who hasn't been seen since June of 2020. Wilson admits.
Why does he talk about Lauren DeMolo so much?
He is trying to save his life, but it will be up to a jury to figure out fact from fiction.
I wonder if he has anything to do with her. Because, I mean, why would he keep talking about her? Or he may know something about it to try to throw people off. Lauren DeMolo. 4 years later. And it's all around the same time frame. Marks the 4 years. So this was 2024. Would he already be in jail by that point? I wonder when she went missing. We'll look into that. Lauren DeMolo. Okay, just a second, guys.
Just trying to discredit the people who are testifying against you at trial?
Absolutely not. No, I'm just trying to tell the truth.
Wilson and I covered a number of topics, more than we had time to show you and more than we could legally air. Overall, it really seemed like he is trying to bring these things up to save his own skin. Wilson's attorney filed a motion earlier this month to remove himself as counsel due to a conflict of interest. He said their relationship was so ruptured they couldn't move forward. I reached out to that attorney a number of times, but I never heard back. Wilson claims he was part of an organized crime ring. And coming up at 11, we'll tell you how that conspiracy also involved Lauren DeMolo, a local spa, and a former sheriff.
I know her.
Okay, so do you hear what he's talking about? So now he's in a crime ring. He's looping in Lauren DeMolo, who's been missing for 4 years. He's like, what? And maybe, there could be some truth in this. He could be the type of person that he may have some information, and they could have been up to some mess. I mean, he said to Mila, like, didn't he say to Mila, like, you knew I was a killer or something like that? I mean, I don't know how anybody who knew him well didn't know that this guy had some issues. But that's interesting.
Her family really, really wants to know what happened to her.
Mm-hmm. And I'll have more answers from Cape Coral Police, too, because I talked to them about this case as well.
City of Fort Myers.
Okay.
Just over.
All right. I think, just a second. I hadn't seen... Hold on one second. Let me go to this one. I wanted to see if I could find Mila's testimony. We'll have to maybe get to that on another day, but this might be Kelly. Hold on a second. And
a woman who says that the convicted murderer, Wade Wilson, attacked her is now speaking out. Last week, a jury recommended to a judge that Wilson be sentenced to death after the same jury convicted him of murdering two women, Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. Those women were found dead back in 2019 after being strangled by Wilson. This is all according to the prosecution. Scripps News' Cape Coral spoke with a woman who claims that she was attacked by Wilson shortly before these murders took place. Take a listen. Convicted Cape Coral murderer Wade Wilson will soon find out if he will go to prison for life or be put to death. I'm Fox 4 senior reporter Caitlin Knapp, and I dug into his background after the state attorney made an interesting comment to me about Wilson. The comment led me to track down Wilson's ex-girlfriend, who believes the murders could have been avoided if Palm Beach County deputies arrested Wilson for her reported crime.
We've heard from many women who have been victimized by the defendant, but maybe didn't go forward on charges or for whatever reason didn't find justice in the justice system. That's what sparked.
So all of those no process, all of those things, they just let them collect, and this is what happens.
The story after weeks of covering Wilson's trial and death penalty recommendation. Kelly Matthews dated Wilson and was interviewed by our West Palm Beach station shortly after he was named a person of interest in October 2019.
He kidnapped me and almost killed me.
And most recently, Matthews has been vocal on TikTok.
I dated this man. I don't want to be quiet about this.
Quiet about what she claims Wilson did to her in Palm Beach County. Matthews met Wilson in 2018 online, calling him charismatic and polite. She said things changed when he started reportedly using drugs.
It was just like a very toxic relationship, but he was never violent ever.
Until February 18th, 2019, she claims. Matthews says Wilson agreed to go to a rehab in the Keys, but Matthews said that wasn't true, and they got into an argument.
And so I got back in the car and put my seatbelt on, and that's when he started choking me.
She says Wilson then cut off her clothes and eventually put her in the back of her car. Matthews says he sexually assaulted her, tied and gagged her.
At some point, he had bit my face.
She says he drove them to the Keys and Wilson got out and left. Matthews says she drove home.
I should have stopped at like a gas station or something, but I think I thought no one would believe me.
She and her mom called police. Matthews says she went to the hospital where they did a sexual assault kit and took photos of her injuries. In a police report I obtained from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, it says they interviewed Wilson, who did not admit to any assault. The report says Matthews did have bruising on her neck and a cut to her lip, but they did not arrest Wilson.
He was like, no, this is hearsay. Like, you don't have any probable cause.
He, as in the detective who also put in the report, there are no witnesses to the alleged crime and no evidence to establish probable cause. Do you feel like the system has failed you?
Absolutely.
I reached out to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office asking why they did not arrest Wilson despite visible injuries.
I don't understand how someone can do something so severe to somebody else and not even get detained for it.
About 8 months later, Wilson was in Cape Coral and killed Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. Matthews sees his conviction and death penalty recommendation as some sort of justice.
I feel like this is good for everyone that he's hurt.
Matthews says she wants to talk about what happened for her own sake and for other domestic violence cases.
I want people to know that they can leave, get help.
As for Wilson, he's in jail, waiting to see if judge will agree to the jury's recommendation and sentence him to death.
We're a strong group of people that he didn't beat. And unfortunately, it took two women dying for him to get noticed. You didn't win, and you're going to get what you deserve.
As of Monday evening, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office says that they are currently working on my request. Matthews says she wants to file a lawsuit against the Sheriff's Office for the outcome of her case. Again, Wilson will be sentenced on July 23rd, and I will be in that courtroom to bring you the decision. In studio, Caitlin Knapp, Fox 4.
Thanks to Caitlin Knapp for that report.
So quick update on that. It's not, obviously it wasn't July. It's going to be later this month. So because they threw something in about that brain damage or something like that. So they're doing some additional assessments because I guess for him to get the death penalty, I think if I don't know, there's some stipulations that they have to flesh out to make sure that whatever the judge decides that he or she wants to do, that they are free and clear to do that. So I think there's additional layer, to this process, but he's just trying to prolong the inevitable.
Difficult one. Let's bring back in Marie Pereira and Matthew Mangino. Matthew, something was missed here, clearly.
Okay. I'll have a link to these for you guys. Yeah, some of the testimony I would like to go back and look at is I want to hear Mila's full testimony. I'll probably try to find that tonight, listen to it, and get back with you guys tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, it is a very interesting story. So um I feel sorry for those women. It's one of those things that makes me feel like when Diane was walking down the street and he stops and asks her for directions, I typically am a pretty friendly person. And if someone were to say, "Hey, do you know how to get the da-da?" But sometimes it's a distraction to get you like off guard and grab you and things like that. So it's like you have to be so careful. I don't know how he got her in the car and why she would accept a ride from a stranger, or if he grabbed her, what happened, how she actually got in the car. Was it willingly, just on the premise of, "Hey, I'll take you down the street, thanks a lot," or whatever? You know what I mean? It's just all bad. Um so yeah, pretty interesting. So hopefully any of you guys who've been watching, if you hadn't done any kind of looking into some of this case, um, obviously, this is all very kind of, not the nitty gritty details, but interesting nonetheless. So, if you want to get into this, is a really good, it's an interesting case, and it's a good time to get into it now, just because Phone Calls from Prison, a YouTube channel we love to watch, has started airing some of his jail phone calls. So you have an idea of who he is and what he's been accused of. There's so much out here that you can take in to understand a little bit more about this case. And we'll try to keep up with it as much as we can. But it's interesting. He's one of these train wreck type people. It's kind of hard to not get sucked in by listening to him talk and talk and talk and talk. So, yeah. So the trial's done, but the trial like in reverse, like go back and watch some of it, sure. Um, Yeah, I mean, we can find some key testimony days. I don't know how many witnesses they've had. But yeah, we can get into, at least watching some of the really kind of high points of the trial. Um, so absolutely, why not? Wait, just one second. Guys. Okay, so sorry about that. My daughter had to ask me a question. Um, Yeah, I feel bad for her because she did go and fill out a police report. I think that he's a good talker. I think that obviously he doesn't make a lot of sense and he talks in circles. However, before he got all of those face tattoos and all of that, he's a tall, guy. He's charismatic, all of these things. So he has a way of getting his way, right? And I bet you that's how that happened. She filled out a police report. The police went to go talk to him, and he was able to, play dodgeball basically. And she's very lucky. But the thing for me is that when he got arrested, why she's reaching out to the current Mila. You know what I'm saying? Like, what would make her think that Mila maybe on some "he beat me up and he beat you up, so let's talk and let's compare notes," because Mila is obviously still in the midst of dealing with this guy, even though yes, she has moved on. Me personally, I don't know when Mila got married, like what her situation is, but I would be concerned after all of this coming out and understanding the depths of a wife, like that's my wife and this is what you were in a few years ago. Like, this is weird. I don't know. Maybe she's had some healing. Hopefully for her, she has. I don't know. I don't think it always happens that quickly. right? I don't think it happens that fast for most people. Sometimes for people, a light turns on and you know that maybe there's something else that you shouldn't be dealing with something. But I also think it takes some time. Um, but I guess in the past 4 years, she's met someone, she's gotten married. I think I'm not sure. I don't know that for sure, but we'll find her testimony. I'm sure she did. I haven't seen it, so I'll find it. Um, I mean, the fact that she and the dad, he confessed to both of them is huge. So he was trying to do damage control along the way to maybe mitigate the fact that he'd already implicated himself and confessed. So it was pretty much a wrap from there. But he's trying to use, that he's got some sort of brain damage. And those allegations were basically, it's even if he did have some brain damage, it doesn't make you not responsible. I think one of the things about the insanity plea or somebody having brain damage or things like that makes them not responsible for what they did. You can still be responsible and still be held accountable and still be crazy. Because I mean, there has to be an element of someone not being 100% in their faculties who is out here just on a murder spree, right? So that doesn't mean that he's not responsible for what he did. So no matter what, I don't know that they're going to find whatever they find of him and in him or that has happened to him. I don't know that they're going to find something that's going to give him life in prison. I think he's going to end up getting the death penalty. I don't think that whatever is wrong with him is going to be a factor in them saying that he isn't eligible for a lethal injection because it would be, because he's got some sort of defect or something like that. I'm not sure. The guy up in Ohio? Is that the guy? Like Ohio or somewhere up in the Midwest somewhere? I think if that's what you're talking about. I didn't see that. No. Who wants to go to trial for that though? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, save. Did he get a plea deal or did he plead guilty? Yeah, he knows. If you know how to lie, if you know how to make up a story, okay? If you know how to lie and make up stories and cover the truth, then you know right from wrong. Absolutely. If somebody asks you what happened and you tell them your version of what happened and it's not accurate, that's a lie, right? Uh So I wonder what his sentence is going to be. So it says Chad Dorman, the Claremont County man accused of shooting and killing 3 sons last summer, pled guilty on Friday to 3 counts of aggravated murder. He pled guilty to 2 counts of felonious assault, felonies in the second degree for injuries to his former wife and stepdaughter. This is these are some tough times that we're living in. 33 years old doing such a thing. So did he get an actual deal or did they say we're going to spare you the death penalty? So it says plea agreement. So Ohio father spared the possibility of being put to death after he admitted Friday to fatally shooting his 3 sons last year in a series of killings the prosecutor described as executions. Claremont County Common Plea Judge Richard Furnick sentenced Chad, 33, to life. Okay, so he was spared the death penalty, but he's got life. without possibility of parole. So he's a lifer. Okay. I mean, at that point, like, I'm going to be honest. If I were to put myself in that position, I don't know. I'm 33 years old, and by the grace of God, let's say you don't live a long life to even 65. He's sitting in confinement for decades and decades. Some people are like, take me out, you know? Mm, well, uh, wow. I'm glad that I mean, what was the point in having a trial anyway? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's some grand gesture because someone decides to plead guilty. You're guilty. You know what I mean? Like, we shouldn't be giving out cookies for guilty. Like, if you're guilty, save us a buck, save us time, save people the agony, save people the exercise in having to prove what we already know. So good job. Good job doing your job. You know what I mean? And you were spared the death penalty. Um, good for him. I don't know. I don't know that everybody has something that they could claim that they went through in childhood. I mean, I just don't know. Um, I don't know if that's exactly true, but for those that it is true, most people are not. You know what I mean? Like these crime sprees and killing sprees are crazy. Um, I mean, there's no like you don't get a cookie for telling the truth. Like at the end of the day, um, and I don't know what the win is for me in having to sit in jail for 40 years. I couldn't, but I'm also not going to be in that position. But for me, if they said death penalty, I guess because you just don't know what day your day is coming, but whoever knows that when their day is coming. And at the end of the day, if you have decided when someone's last day will be, isn't it a little bit of the justice for you to not know? The fact that you took it in your hands to make it someone's last day, wouldn't that be some justice too? But I don't know. I mean, he wants to sit the rest of his life in prison. Good. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Well, remember Susan Smith? I mean, all the children, all the senseless acts against children are horrible. I guess by him admitting and taking the L and all of that, they spared him the death penalty. He didn't go through the trial. That's Chad, is that Chad Dorman, right? Um, right. Life isn't wonderful for everyone. Um, let's see. Mm. It was gruesome. It was awful. I don't get it. You know what I mean? And some of these things you'll never like I will never understand and I'm okay with that. I don't understand doing that to your family, to your kids. Hating the mom so much. Like I can't have them, nobody will. It's so selfish. And 33 years old. You would think in a way I see 33 as young, but I also see that as you're a dad, you got, you've got these kids, you're married. Um, what's wrong? Like awful. It's really hard to wrap your whole it's hard to understand. Anyway, guys, we'll get back on some Wade. Um and we'll get back on Nesto and everything else. But yeah, interesting topic. And like I said, if you kind of feel like, okay, this is a good kind of baseline, all you have to do is search Wade Wilson. There's so much out here. But for any of you guys who are new to the topic, which I certainly was, like I said, he'd been in my timeline and I did not click on. I was like, ew, when I saw his picture. And I didn't know that the story was, so interesting. But, nonetheless, it's awful. But hopefully this will bring some peace and to the people who have been terrorized by this man over the years. And but he's one to watch. He is going to be one to watch, because if there's going to be a escape at the jail, he's going to be right up in the middle of it. If there's going to be some nonsense going on at the jail, it's going to be, he seems to find his way into trouble a lot. And he's going to have to be one to watch. You can't trust him. He is wired that way. Yeah, he's wired in a certain way that he might even have like a defiant disorder. He may not necessarily that oppositional defiant disorder where he just it's just in him to go against the grain. The rules do not apply. Right? Girl, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess. And because he's a lifer, lifers are kind of bad in a way because they have nothing to lose. And the ones who are like with that vendetta type mindset, they're going to wreak havoc. They're going to wreak havoc. They're going to start trouble. They're going to be in the middle of the shit. It's going to be a mess. So anyway, he's going to be one to watch. If they're able to give him the death penalty, then if that's the justice that he gets, that's the justice that he gets for what he did. Because I don't think these two are the only ones. I really don't. And then he keeps mentioning that other woman. I wonder if they're looking into that. I would imagine that they are. Awful. Anyway, guys, we'll keep up with this story. It's interesting. The calls are interesting. Mila is very much a Sonya in the making, or is Sonya a Mila in the making? I don't know. I mean, it's like 6 of one, half a dozen of another. It's so interesting to listen to these women who support these guys, and where that shit ain't right and you still want to deal with them. No, he really doesn't. Because you see what happened, even just at the county jail, he's got someone offering him $200,000 to take out somebody, and he's sitting up in the jailhouse. Like, he attracts nonsense. Or he creates it around them. He may give out a vibe like, I'm with the shit, so come with it. Alcohol is worse than drugs. I would not be surprised. I'm sure, they're that syndrome. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, guys, this was interesting. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll get back into it. We'll keep up with this. And I will see you guys next time. Okay, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care, guys. Have a good evening. Take care.